revising my title, because my chair had recommended that, and as I was going through this, really what I'm looking at is the impact of the professional development on the method. So I've just pretty much retitled my dissertation to Impact of Professional Development on Blended Learning Instructional Methods. So I too was planning to make a guide, and we'll have kind of some steps and some how-tos at the end of what is beneficial for sites that have a blended learning environment or want to design a blended learning environment, and what's effective to help the teachers and help the students learn. So that's the overall goal. And I'm going to grab my glasses for a second.
You want me to pass that around? Oh, those are her notes.
No.
Those are her notes.
Oh, yeah, these are my notes. It's minis of this. So, research supports improved student achievement can be achieved through through the successful use of blended learning environment, one which is fostered by critical thinking, engaging activities, flexibility, and trained instructor support. So a lot of the research I've done says this is great and this is out there and these are there to use, but yet the teachers just say, okay, go flip your class. And how do I do that? And oh my gosh, and we've had some of that fear and anxiety in this class as well. So we want to train, and we need to, as a district, it's our responsibility to train our staff and to provide them those resources that they need to make their class and their instructional methods effective. So the selected site that I'm using is a small charter in South Riverside County that is K through 12, and I'm focusing on 6 through 12 for that activity, for this activity, because they have 1 to 4 blended learning classes within their instructional for those grade levels. So their provider, called Ingenuity for their curriculum, gives them their online units, lessons, lectures, and so forth, but it's up to the teachers to design their own face-to-face activities. So I have conducted some interviews as part of my preliminary qualitative data with the site coordinator, just to get a feel for what they already do. So she does, one person for this entire campus is attempting to come up with all these creative lessons and activities for their teachers. So they need to be able to pass that torch to the teachers so they can design the activities themselves, which some do based on my initial talk with them. So what was lacking from their curriculum provider was that face-to-face interaction activity. So the purpose of the study, my little blender, which I used before, is to determine the best practices to build teacher confidence in facilitating blended learning instruction through professional development, training teachers to develop meaningful face-to-face activities that keep their students actively engaged and deepen their understanding. So part of my theoretical framework, I'm kind of going here, then here, then over here. So I'm using a constructivist grounded theory study. Constructivist being hands-on, we learn from what we do. Grounded theory is going into this not quite sure what the ended outcome is going to be. So the intent of a grounded theory study is to move beyond description and to generate or discover a theory, a unified theoretical explanation, or a process or an action. During this class, and sending some of my drafts to my chair, she said, well, what do you think about adding an action research element to your project? And I went, I would love to do that. Can I do that? So I came up with some ideas, designed the survey to be following a professional development that I will hold at this site to develop a sample idea of an effective face-to-face activity called a web quest. So according to Millen and Schumacher, action research involves the use of research methods by practitioners to study current problems or issues. Both qualitative and quantitative methods can be used effectively in exploratory research. So the exploratory design of a mixed method study begins with gathering qualitative data and then followed by the quantitative research to determine the demographics and numerical data. By using the qualitative component in the beginning, researchers are able to use language and emphasis on different topics of the subject in wording items of your survey. And again, that's from our text from this class. So I'm my goal is to do those interviews, formal interviews in April, pending approval. And then if I need to modify my action research, the actual professional development that I hold, and then the survey, it may change from here. So what I designed was based off of the research that I had done, my own experience, and my initial conversations with the site coordinator. So the purpose of this kind of study, which is called exploratory design, is typically to use initial qualitative phase with a few individuals to identify themes, ideas, perspectives, and beliefs that can be used to design a larger scale quantitative part of the study. So my timeline here, which we kind of talked in the last class, qualitative study, ideally this spring, followed by the action research in August, and then the quantitative data, which I will also add an observation of the classrooms to see some of the face-to-face activities in action to determine if the student engagement factor is effective, and then interpreting all the data and finally presenting. So the key literature, I've covered a lot of that, so I'm not going to read through those in detail. But what I did focus on was a project called a WebQuest, which you may or may not have heard about. They were introduced in early to 2000, 2005, and it is an online, it's pretty much a blended learning activity where it's teacher guided by, you have certain sites that students have to go to. It has an introduction, a task, a process. They have to go to these specific sites, come up with an activity that they're going to do. So it's tying in what they're learning, guided with their research. So they're going to go to their text, they're going to go to some outside sources because they almost always have to have 2 or more texts to quantify and qualify their projects. But then also part of what I've discovered is that when you give students choices in how they research and what they research, it makes them more interested and engaged. So that's a big part of what I'm going to talk to the teachers about. So my research questions were, does professional development impact teacher confidence and ability to design and teach blended learning classroom? I'll tell you the answer in a minute. Was the training received effective in developing meaningful face-to-face activities? Do real-world scenarios help keep students actively engaged and motivated to learn? So the pilot study, I had a principal, 1 elementary, 1 middle school, 2 high school, and 6 college level that all either had education technology experience or blended learning. 1 elementary and high school instructor previously worked at the site that I'm going to be using. So they had that insight of, oh, I know what this site did. And then the 6 college level are in basically a fully blended learning program. The disadvantages that the participants had is they had not gone through my action research part. So some of the questions that came up were, you asked, did I have training or did I receive professional development? And if I had said no, then potentially they could have stopped the survey at that point. So that was a good thing to learn, something that Rick discovered, because all of them went on and completed the study, which was nice. They all had received some type of professional development, whether it was face-to-face activities, how to do their own lessons. So they answered the questions based off of their own background. So since the survey will be administered immediately following the professional development, everyone participating will have gained from that training. So that part of the problem will be solved with this. But what I also learned was I need to reword some of the things where I may want to know, what did you know coming into this? What did you learn from this? So I'll clarify some of those questions. And I had 20 questions for, I characterize them as demographics, 6 in previous experience, 6 with demographics, 3 previous experience, 7 open and closed-ended based on the professional development, and face-to-face activities with 4 questions. And the data gathered in the study validates the need for prior experience. So on here, 90% held a master's degree or higher, 70% had outside experience. Because what I have learned personally is that having that real-world experience, bringing it into the classroom as I did in mine, it makes it more meaningful. If you have someone that's never worked outside, all they have is the classroom knowledge, they're having to find those real world experiences. They can't deal with it from their own personal experience. So we need to teach teachers how to do both, because not everyone is going to have real world experience. But luckily for my survey, we had the majority of them that did. The gold line here is how long have you been teaching, so the majority of them had 5 years or more. And then here, the majority of them only had 1 to 2 years in a blended learning setting. So that was, they were pretty much still newbies, is the way I would put it. And then on my, these were yes, no questions. So in your, I'll look at my little bigger one. So were they, in your opinion, are students more engaged and motivated to learn? So we had a maybe here on this one, was the primary answer on that. So did professional development training include how to develop face-to-face activities? So the majority of them, the yes, did have that in some type of setting. And then did the training on how to do face-to-face activities, did to deepen the student learning? It was kind of equal, because we don't really know at that point. And it may be the same with my permanent study. Did you receive professional development on how to do blended learning? Again, it was majority yes. And have you had a job outside of education? And then these were my Likert skill questions with a 1 to 5. And these were really designed to answer those 3 questions. So overall, was the professional development training you received beneficial towards helping you teach in a blended learning? So it was roughly a 3.5. And then our online lectures and modules adequately preparing the students. So this was, is their Edgenuity program to the people that I am actually doing it, is it effective? So the ones that have the program, which most of them were in the dental college program, they feel it is preparing them. For the most part, this one is the real world experience. So everyone, nearly everyone felt that it was really important to bring in those real world ideas. And then how confident are you in developing your own? So these teachers were fairly confident with an average rating of slightly over 4. And was the professional development beneficial in building your confidence? Again, 3.5, because some have, some haven't. And then how confident are you in your instructional methods being effective in a blended learning? And we had closer to 4. So back to my research questions. So does the professional development impact your self-confidence? Average rating of 4 out of 5. Was the training you received meaningful? It helping you develop meaningful activities? 4.3 out of 5 was the average. And do real world scenarios help? 4.6 out of 5. So I believe that my questions are designed well enough to get the desired results that I'm wanting. And then we'll determine if the site likes the activities. And so I've already kind of talked about some of the changes that I'm going to make. And let me... so the educators asked had not gone through the training. I mentioned that 60% of the participants noted that they had received previous professional development. 2 of the individuals gave me feedback. The principal did not participate in this, but she gave me feedback. I had one of the dental individuals send me an email, and I did gather their email. So I could go back on the spreadsheet I downloaded. It said if I want to see, oh, who answered this, I can go back and I can send them an email follow-up question. So I think that is a very beneficial tool within that survey.